I've talked with defense lawyers before, and they'll tell you the second you bring an animal into the equation, the case becomes pretty much holy hell for everyone involved. I mean, you'll get more public outcry over it than you would a person being killed, frankly.
Oh,
So
you will.
yeah,
You
so
will, but people have to understand that everything has to die. Okay, even us. Okay, animals only live a very short time on this planet. They don't live to be 40 and 80 years old like people do. Okay, most of a tiger should have died between 14 and 16 years. I kept these tigers alive for 23 years. Okay, and actually probably 5 years longer than I should have because they were crippled, and I made them stay alive being crippled. So I had two options to face: PETA and the Humane Society in Carroll trying to get me arrested for animal cruelty for making these animals stay alive, or putting them to sleep and facing the music for putting them to sleep. There's no winning. You're right. There's no winning in an animal case. Okay, but let me tell the world, I'm not ashamed of what I did. I put them down the fastest way humanly possible, no pain. I buried them respectfully, and I would do it again tomorrow if I had to.
do you think there's evidence that should have been shown that wasn't?
Oh, there's tons of evidence that should have been shown that wasn't. First of all, they dug up. They claim that they dug up five tigers, but we have evidence now with videotape that they took while they were digging them up, and while they were cleaning those heads, that somehow or another they threw an extra head in that mix. So was I tried by the five tigers I buried, or was I tried by another tiger head that they came up with? Because during my trial, they tried to say that I shot four and I beat one with blunt objects, which is absolutely absurd.
Um,
There's a ton of evidence that should have been played and dug up while I was on trial. It was to get it done fast. The public defenders didn't want to mess with it. They kept trying to get me to make a plea deal. I didn't do anything wrong, so I didn't accept the plea deal. I only started with one charge, and the minute I asked for a fair trial like the Constitution says I could, they charged me with 20 more charges.
you mentioned solitary before, and this wasn't a question I was planning on asking, but since you brought it up, and I myself haven't had the opportunity to speak with many people who've been in solitary. You were in for you were in solitary for a long time, like 2.5 years. What is what
Yes.
is what does that do to you? How does that affect you mentally?
Let me tell you, I've seen people kill themselves. I myself, you can see the bloody pictures on all of my social media. I have been stripped naked and tied to chairs and put in showers with the lights off for so long that the skin came off my arms from the straps. I will never be the same. I will never respect the United States of America like I used to, because this is wrong. And every interview that I ever do, I have to throw Russia in there, and I have to throw Brittany Griner and Paul Whelan and Trevor Reed in there, because in Russia, you never one time saw them in court other than in their street clothes, and they were never shackled at their ankles, and they were never belly chained around their waist. They were always in just handcuffs and their own clothes. In America, you're in a jumpsuit and you are shackled and tied up like a monkey in a parade, and you are made to be guilty from the minute you hit that courtroom. So America has nothing but to be ashamed of themselves. I spent 5 months next to Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and he hung himself. He killed himself. I seen a 21-year-old kid named Justin Teo in a federal holdover in Oklahoma, and it's on Channel 9 News' website in Oklahoma City, how they beat that kid, and then they locked him in the exact same shower they locked me into, except they threw him a towel, and he hung himself. And he was on his way home. Our president of this country should be ashamed of himself.
How did you mentally cope with that? Where did you find the strength from to not do the things that those other two people did?
Hey, I poked a hole in a potato chip bag, and I kept my medicine in a bag for. I overdosed twice, and if I could have had the balls to hang myself, I would have done that. But what drives me now is the fight to get out of here and the fight. I want to testify in front of Congress. And David, and this is something maybe I need to hook you up with my people on the outside. It's no secret I've been caught with 2 cell phones in federal prison. And for the last 3 years, I have documented more
Whoop.
that Congress would just, I don't know if they would believe it or if they already know and they just don't want to accept it. And I have documentation of the mold, the algae that we live in, the
Whoop.
food that we have to, the expired food that we have to eat, and the staff stealing
Whoop.
and people sitting around shooting up all day long. This is a joke. The money that the taxpayers are paying for incarcerated people in this country is going somewhere. And if you Google Keefy products, you'll see that the Bushes are the ones profiting the most from prison. Bob Barker and the Bushes.
Let's talk about the music trademark lawsuit you filed, which has kind of led to your return to Florida for the time being. Tell us about that and what happened and why did you sue?
Okay, well, back in 2013, I hired a guy named Vince Johnson to help co-write, co-write 6 songs. Okay, I paid him dearly. He sold me his rights. He signed $1 million confidentiality agreement because at that time I wasn't planning on doing anything with my music. It was all about writing songs about the sick people that I granted wishes for that died, okay, and being gay. That's all my music was supposed to be about. Then I did a total of 26 songs on my own without him. Okay, well, again, Joe's in solitary confinement. Nobody can get a hold of him. Netflix is out there dying to make a movie and capitalize off of making Joe out to be this bad guy. And they needed somebody to sign a contract so they could use my music. So they got a hold of Vince Johnson, and the only way they did that was through Jeff Lowe. And them is the only people who know Vince Johnson was even involved. Okay, so they get a hold of Vince Johnson, and Vince Johnson signs over the rights to Netflix for a very large paycheck, and then he gets on the news and takes the opportunity to just claim all of my music as his, and he's the one singing, and he's the one that produced them, and he did everything. While Joe's in solitary confinement, he gets a record deal and $200,000 from BMG and Create and all these other big record companies off of that he had nothing to do with. So Joe wants to start taking his life back a little bit at a time. So I filed a copyright and trademark and breach of confidentiality contract against this man. And I'm taking him to court just like Carol Baskin did me. And I'm going to show him how it is to live with $1 million judgment on your head for taking advantage of me and trying to convince the world that that's not my music, that's his music. And I'm just sick of rats, man. After Jeff Lowe stealing my zoo, Vince Johnson stealing my music, my husband at the time signing the contract with Netflix and running off with $2.6 million and selling my clothes to a museum in Las Vegas and leaving me here with nothing. And then everybody on the internet selling T-shirts and socks and shoes and you name it, making money off of Joe Exotic while Joe Exotic suffers in solitary confinement and being treated like a river rat. I'm done. I'm taking some of my life back. And the worst part is Carol Baskin, but I don't want to discuss that on this call because I'm hoping to one day file a lawsuit against her for what she did to my zoo.
Are you still creating music now, even after everything that's happened in your life?
You know what? I sit in here and I try and write songs and I can't because of the trauma right now and the way I live. And so I haven't. We have bands at prison, and I do a little playing around with the bands, at the prison. But have I seriously? No. I'm just so pissed off with what the government has done to me that I can't even get past writer's block.